Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Translators on Air. My name is Dmitry Kornikhov. I'm your host. Joining me today, my incredible co-host, Elena Tereshenko. Hi, Elena.
Hello, everyone.
And our guest, Tanya Quintieri. Tanya is a German freelance translator from Prague. She's been working as a freelance translator since 2002, and she also presents at various conferences, talks, and universities across Europe. And the topics of her presentations are mostly working as a freelance translator, finding and retaining clients, and creating collaboration opportunities for all freelancers out there. And Tanya also has several initiatives that she has started. One of those initiatives is 1 Million Mile Challenge, and the second one is Translation Camp. And this is going to be the topic of our conversation today. But before we go there, just a few announcements. As always, the second season of Translators on Air has been sponsored by our friends at Smerket. Smerket develops translation technology for translators and interpreters, and they offer free CAT tool for all the translators out there. Just click the green button below if you're watching this live, or you can visit the first link in the description of this video. Okay, we have quite a few people today. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Hello, Paige, Hagen, Marsha, Shayla, Tracy, Lori, Catalina, Lara, Sophia. It's really nice to have you here. For those of you who are joining us for the first time ever, just a few tips how to use this platform. There's a chat window on the right-hand side. Just use it to say hi or communicate with your colleagues. Or if you have questions about the topic of our conversation, or if you want to suggest something that we could discuss, there is an orange button below this video that says ask a question or suggest a topic. And of course, these webinars are best enjoyed with friends and colleagues, so please go over to Facebook and Twitter if you have a few minutes and share it with your colleagues. The more people can join us, the more fun we'll have. Okay, Tanya, how are you?
Good. I just had dinner, and I'm happy to be here and to talk to you guys. It's great to have the viewers on board, and I hope that we can entertain them for an hour on this weird day.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the day has started very weirdly. It's been a weird year, actually, for all the people around the globe. We were just talking with Yelena about this. Maybe because it's a lapse year, so maybe that's the reason.
But there have been strange things going on all over the globe. That is true.
Yes, starting from the beginning of the year, and we've got 1.5 months to go. I've been discussing it with people on Twitter today, and yeah, I'm not sure if they're gonna be calm or whether something else will happen. Probably something good for a change.
Well, I woke up to the news that the Canadian website, immigration website, has been down because of all the U.S. citizens figure out how to immigrate to Canada, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, what can I say? I'm an American and I live in Prague, and but I did cast my vote. I did my ballot by mail thing, and yeah, and it's exciting because next Thursday, I think, or Wednesday, I'm flying over to the States for Thanksgiving. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
And I'll get to experience what the atmosphere is like. Yeah, but let's talk about fun stuff.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, let's talk about. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, your business, and all your initiatives that you have?
Sure. Okay. Like you said, I've been translating since about 2002. I started freelancing on the side while I was still fully employed with 2-3 companies throughout the first 7 years of my translator's career. I didn't translate. Or yes, I did translate on the job, but I wasn't there to be a translator. I was the first company I worked for. I was an assistant to project engineers. I worked on such nice projects as the Berlin airport that just doesn't want to,
Wow.
be permitted. But that was not my fault. So, and then I moved on to software companies where I was in charge of marketing and HR. And obviously, in software companies, you always have a need for translations into English and on the job. But while I was doing that, I was building my client base more or less regularly. And at the end of 2009, I decided to go full-time freelancing. And yeah, so I translate German English, and just recently moved the business to Prague with, I moved here for personal reasons. And yeah, so that's what I do. And the thing is, I do a lot of collaboration with other translators. I basically develop the projects and get people to join me on those projects. Just today, I delivered a Chinese translation for subtitles. So my clients usually come to me because they're either too lazy to look for other translators themselves, or they just enjoy working with me. I hope it's the latter. And yeah, but it's fun. And hence, that's why my company's name is The Translators. But I'm not an agency. It doesn't work like that. I just collaborate with other translators. And back in 2011, I founded an association for freelance translators because I was not eligible to join our national association because I'm one of those typical job changers. I did get certified in 2010, I believe it was, yes, by the German Chamber of Commerce. But I have no formal education as a translator. And
is this an obligatory requirement then for joining the National German Association?
Well, it was back then. In the meantime, they have opened up the job changers a bit more. I believe that they understand the need for that because the job is changing, the profession is changing. And yeah, but that's the reason, or that was the time when I really started getting involved with translators and with the profession itself. Up until then, I didn't really have a lot of contacts with other translators. But so over the course of the years, I've just had these ideas and sparked some projects, and some of them have died, and some of them thankfully have prevailed. Personally, my favorite thing was the Meet Your Translator initiative that I did with a colleague of mine in Berlin, where we invited, I think it was 12 direct clients and 36 translators. And we had like a rotating menu. It was a 6-course menu that was titled Traveling the World. And those guest speakers, not guest speakers, the guests from the client side, they had to switch tables after every course so that they got to talk to every translator and interpreter who was there. That was a lot of fun.
Sounds a bit like speed dating.
It was definitely. And I'm not, well, yeah, I do know of 2-3 translators who actually walked away with clients. But that wasn't really the main part. For one, I wanted to get the client side to get to know translators and, realize that it's not just all about agencies. And on the other hand, of course, I wanted freelance translators to I wanted to take down their walls that are made of, I don't know what issues they might have, be it fear or I don't know what, but just to show them that it's easy to talk to direct clients, and, they're only human and they have questions, and that at the end of the day, they do see us as the experts in our field. So it was quite an eye-opener to the people who attended. Yeah, but that hasn't happened again so far, and the entire event concept, I gave that over. I handed it over to my colleague, Peter Ehrman. And that leaves me with 2 initiatives that are at the moment. One is the Translation Camp, and the other one is the 1 Million Mile Challenge. The 1 Million Mile Challenge I launched because it was actually a weird story. I meant to buy myself a bicycle to, you know, just do more. And this was all before I got pregnant. So, yeah, and I had promised that I would do 1,000 miles by the end of 2014, I think it was. Yeah. And I didn't manage because I got pregnant and life happened. But then my partner and I had the idea that it would be nice, you know, to have a common goal with other translators. And at the same time, he was taking part in a challenge called the 1,000 Miles Challenge, where participated in a race that went for 1,000 miles, and he didn't. So we thought, yeah, let's do something crazy for the translator community. And there wasn't really a reason. The first reason was, or our main thought behind it was just to get translators together to share a mutual goal. And this year it went kind of slow because, you know, people were thinking, okay, so what is she going to do with all this information and what's in it for me? And it was a small crowd of, I don't know, maybe 40 active participants who would upload their miles to Endomondo or submit them through a form. So we by far did not reach our goal. When we started the second edition this year, no, not this year. Yeah, it's 2016, in May 2016. The crowd did grow. I think right now we have about 210 participants, and they're all collecting their miles, you know, while walking their dog, riding a bike, walking maybe to their office or whatever. And my hope is that maybe not in the second edition because we're still too small. Right now it's still all about personal goals and people wanting to lose weight and getting away from their desk and, you know, just sharing with others. But I do hope that in the third edition that it's large enough and people will talk about it enough so that it makes sense to, you know, start introducing these translators and their stories. I mean, there's great stories out there when I listen to or when I read about the stories that people share. You know, some of them are really proud of their hometown and they shoot pics and shoot pics. They take pictures and post that to the Facebook group and stuff. And so as soon as it's a little bit bigger, I want to like show the world, you know, there's these awesome translators and they're doing healthy things, but they're having fun at it at the same time. And sports is something, or health in general, is something that we have in common with many, many people from many, many different professions. And most of the people out there in the world, they do have a job, they do work for a company. That company might have the need for a translator. I don't know. It's just, I wanted to grow to another platform where translators can present themselves in a way that's not too much marketing and selling and that kind of thing. So that's the story behind that. And yeah, it's fun.
And how can people join the initiative?
Oh, it's quite easy. You just go into your browser and type 1millionmiles.com in one word. So it's a 1 and 6 zeros, miles.com. And there's a sign-up form where you basically have to state that you are a translator and, you know, add some social media links, whatever. And then you can track on your own, either through the website, through a form, you can update your progress, or you can go to the challenge on Endomondo and sign up for the challenge there, and then your miles will be automatically added. And technically, it doesn't matter how you collect those miles, if you swim them, if you ski them, if you know, rollerblade. We have a colleague in New Zealand, maybe some of you know her, Jane Fox. She scoots on a scooter, and she's doing really, really good. Oh, great.
Is it too late to join?
No, you can join at any time. So, you can really join at any time, but we do have this goal of, or not goal, we have an end date to each edition, which is April 30th. But of course, you can still add your miles and just you can take it.
So Paige, you don't have to wait for the third edition. You can just go ahead
Right.
to the website and join the challenge right now.
The biggest challenge for me in this challenge is that I keep on forgetting to turn on Endomondo and things like that. But even if you do forget it, as long as you keep track for yourself, I don't know, in a spreadsheet or whatever, you just go back to your profile, I don't know, every month or every second month and just update your numbers. Of course, nobody's going to check it. I mean, how do I know if somebody really walks 10 miles a day? So it's a lot about trust and everything, but it's the fun part. That's the fun part, really.
I actually should go to the website myself and update my miles because I am registered.
Same here.
I am registered and I have a step tracker installed, so I know basically how much kilometers or miles I walk, but I just forget to go there and update my numbers. And you say there's a Facebook group.
There's a Facebook group, right? I can share the link here, maybe. I need to check the 1 million. If you search for 1 million miles challenge, it should show up. There we go.
Yeah, and we're gonna share all the links in the recap and the show notes of this video. So if you're watching this on YouTube or SoundCloud, just check out the article on the open mic where we share all the links. So, and what does the future hold for this project? What do you want to do next with this project?
Well, like I said, I'm hoping that gains a bit more momentum by the time we launch the 3rd edition, and we're well aware. I mean, this is a side project, right? Obviously, it's I wouldn't even call it voluntarily because it was never meant to be a project where we like dedicate 10 hours a week or something. So it's going to have to grow a bit for us to be willing to put in more time. Personally, I through my marketing background, I also have some web developing skills. So, and I'm pretty firm with SEO and things like that. So I do know if I put more work into it, I can utilize that momentum and so that the people joining actually have a benefit. Benefit in terms of, let's introduce, I don't know, Elena from, where are you right now? Russia, right? No, Ukraine. No, Russia. Yeah. And just do, I don't know, maybe little interviews or something with links to your website, whatever.
Yeah, that's a nice idea.
So there's not going to be any money involved or something like that. We're never going to ask money for people to join the challenge or anything. It's really, the main part is, get out there, be healthy. If you need a push from a community, to help you stick to your own goal. I mean, we've had people join the challenge who said, well, I need to lose like 15 pounds. Or I, myself, as well, I needed to lose a couple of pounds after my daughter was born in May. So it's fun to have people there to kind of give you that push, and you can celebrate successes together, milestones, whatever.
Yeah, it's very nice to have a community of supportive people who actually doing the same thing, going through the same thing, and to have it, even if it's just a small community of a small group of people, it's still nice to have those people around you because they really motivate you and help you.
Definitely.
Yes, not everyone is as lucky as me because I have a dog, so I have to get out there every day for at least half an hour. I know it can be a problem because some time ago I didn't have a dog, and it was because working as a freelance translator, you just don't have to go anywhere, and it's easy to stay indoors, and it really takes a toll on your health. And so it is already a great initiative, even if it's in its current form with 100 participants.
Yeah,
and I think the subject of freelancers' health is very important, and most of us are young, and we take our health for granted, but it happens very fast. It happens very fast. I mean,
it does. I mean,
I lost my uncle this year because of stroke, and my dad had a heart attack, and he's 50 years old. So that's when you put this into perspective, you realize that there is only a certain amount of time you are given on this planet, and you should really take care of yourself, because your health is the most important thing. If you're not healthy, you won't be able to help other people. You won't be able to work. You won't be able to take care of your family. So I think the subject of freelancer health, I think we need to put more emphasis on it. So that's a great idea you have.
Let me give you an example. I mean, I turned 40 this year, right? And I've never really been the most athletic person, but you know, I try. I have this wonderful. It's a mess right now because I'm rearranging things, but it's a standing desk. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
But you know, I can have it up and down, and to make sure that I don't sit all day. But still, I mean, you know, I had a boss in Germany. Speaking, of course, there's two L's, which is liegen und laufen, which is laying down and walking, is good for you, and the two S, standing and sitting, is bad for you. And he's right. So even a standing desk, yes, it's better than sitting all day, but that's just not enough. And I just mentioned I turned 40 this year, and I know so much more now these days, you know, how it's taking a toll on my back and muscle strength, etc. And when I walk stairs. So freelancing really does do things to your health.
Yeah, it is important to remember and to do something to prevent it, to prevent the damage. Yeah.
I have a question. What are the biggest challenges you have with this project? Is it motivating people to move more, or is it to get them to collect their miles?
As an organizer, to be honest, people don't read directions. Yeah, like last year, I was doing it manually. Like every email that I got where people were submitting their miles, I would put that in an Excel spreadsheet, and every now and then I would update people on how the complete progress is going. So for the second edition, I thought, okay, let's, you know, get a plugin for the website, and people can just enter their numbers, and, you know, they'll take care of their profiles and everything. Yeah, well, you know, it's, if you enter your miles, please enter it with a period, a decimal point, and not a comma. Yeah, so right now, you know, there's no easy way for me to push a button and say, you know, we have so and so many miles. And I said only enter two decimals after the period. And they put in like these really long numbers because they convert kilometers to miles. And, you know, I'm like, why don't you just read instructions? I mean, it's there, you know, we're translators. We should be able to read. So that to me really is the biggest challenge, because right now I'm not so worried about the size of the group, because people will find us when they're ready. And, you know, if this whole initiative even takes 5 years until it really kicks off and maybe even gets to a point where I could monetize the blog with affiliate links or something to at least get my hosting fees in, and, you know, the actual costs that I do have, that would be great. But yeah, right now it's more about serving the people that are already taking part in this. And yeah, I wish I had a bit more time. I do hope that I will have more time for the project now, because my move is finally completed from Germany to Prague, or yeah, from Germany to Czech Republic, and I'm no longer the head of my association. So I do hope that I will have more time for it, and then I'll just see where it goes. I'm about that project, I'm quite relaxed.
Nice. Yelena, you had a question. I interrupted you.
I was just going to say that it's a great initiative, and we should put all the links in the show notes to the Facebook group and to the website itself, and encourage people to take part in it, because I think it's good for the people in the first place, And then for our profession, if that kicks off and people start talking about it, it's yeah, like you said, it's a nice non-salesy way to let the world know that there are translators.
Right.
What about the X-Late Camp project? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
That's my baby, yeah. The translation camp. How did that come about? Well, like I said, I worked for software companies, and bar camps, what the translation camp actually bases on, bar camps are something that first came about in the software industry, right? And I really loved the concept. I used to go there for my companies that I worked for, and I thought there was like nothing like it in the translation community. And everybody's always saying, you know, I need to do CPD, and doing it at home maybe not be as much fun or as effective as if I went to workshops or even conferences. I mean, why do people go to conferences? To network and of course to hear the people talk. But if you've been to a few conferences, you'll agree that you most likely always see the same people speaking there, or at least about the same topics. And it's always translators talking to translators. So I thought, why can that not happen in a setting that's a bit more casual? Now, in a traditional bar camp, it usually goes a little bit like this. Somebody will be organizing it, and they'll have sponsors who sponsor the venue, who sponsor the food and the drinks, and you know, they will lend them their projectors and things like that. So that actually there's no cost involved with organizing a bar camp, and therefore people can participate for free. Also, there's no program. There's no speakers that will be announced or anything. There is no topics that are predefined. So the organizer invites people who are interested in the topic of the bar camp, and they come. Usually bar camps are for 2 days. There's some that only go 1 day, others, you know, last 4 days. It really depends on the size of the bar camp. And on the first morning, everybody meets in one room, and there is, you have to imagine there's a whiteboard on stage, or whatever you call the stage. And there's a short introduction for sponsors, whatever. And then the organizer asks the audience who would be willing to talk about a subject and about what. And people then walk up to the whiteboard, and they have like about a minute to introduce themselves. Introducing meaning only their name and 3 attributes about their personality or their expertise, whatever. And then they propose their topic, what they want to talk about. And the rest of the audience raises their hands. If enough people are interested, that person gets a slot on a so-called session grid. A session grid is nothing different than you have columns for the different rooms that you have available. And then, of course, time-wise, you have the lines. And then people just, you know, go to the respective rooms and listen to whatever sessions they want to. If they don't like a session that they picked previously, they can always wander off and then go into another room. And these people talking about those subjects don't necessarily have to be experts on those subjects. It can be just talking from experience. It doesn't even have to be like, you know, I want to talk about how SmartCat, for instance, implements Asian fonts or whatever. It can also be people who will say things like, okay, I have this specific problem with a client, and this is what happened, and this is how I reacted, and I would like to hear how you guys would have dealt with it. So you can come in with a question or with an idea. You know, I think back to 3, 4, 5 years, I don't know when they started with the Love Your Translator campaign. Anja Müller, for instance, could have talked about, you know, I have this idea, and this is what I want to do with it, and I'd like to hear your opinion on it. And yeah, so I really wanted to try that out in Germany. Now, I'm not sure.
May I interrupt you for a second? What if no one volunteers? What if no one raises their hand and says, I want to talk about this and that?
That was my biggest fear when I organized my first bar camp, and I had like 4 or 5 papers full of topics where I thought, okay, these are questions or topics that I could, as the organizer, suggest to people and then, just bring them into separate rooms. But we were only 27, I think, and still we had the entire grid full with topics. And it's just the first 2-3 people come with their topics, and then everybody else starts, joining in. Another way you can do it is that you have people suggest topics anonymously, like on a piece of paper, and then collect that from them, and then just kind of group each of their suggestions. A lot of people will want to talk about acquisition. No, not acquisition, I'm sorry, about sales. Other people will want to talk about insurance, client retention, things like that. And you basically always get the same topics, more or less. And then you can just assign a room to that, and whoever's interested in that can go there. And it's just an open discussion without anybody standing in front of them and, talking down. And that's something very important about bar camps. You don't have your speaker. You just have a person who initiates a topic and shares their view on it, or their whatever, and then it's an open discussion. And that is so valuable, because all the participants get, to bring in their opinions and everything. When I had these smaller groups, I would even, arrange the chairs in circles so that everybody was facing everybody, just because it's a much more open situation, and people are more willing to talk than, as opposed to at a conference where somebody walks around in the audience with a microphone. And, it's always the same people bringing in comments or questions or whatever. But and then people leave the room and they're like, I would have liked to know this, but, I was kind of afraid to ask. Is there a time limit on how much they talk? When they suggest the topic should...
Probably when they discuss the topic.
Well, it depends. Usually you decide that beforehand when you set up your grid. And usually you'll have like 45 minutes to 60 minutes, depending on how you plan it. Yeah.
So how many of those bear camps have you had?
I had the first one in November 2014, which was in a very remote location. We booked a youth hostel that had a few meeting rooms, and I chose that remote location on purpose because I didn't want people wandering off in the evening going to clubs or whatever. I wanted us, to really stick together from, I think they arrived Friday night and they left Monday morning. And so the first night was just, hanging out together, getting to know each other, having a few drinks together. The second night, which was the first bar camp day, or which was after the first bar camp day, we did, we made a bonfire outside, and we barbecued bread dough on long branches, and had a bunch of wine because I had sponsors from 3 vineyards, and they sent us boxes and boxes of wine. So, but it was quite cold, and it was fun, and it was, kind of romantic and quite an intimate, not intimate and intimate, but a very friendly, cozy atmosphere. And on the second night, we went, the third night, which was at the end of the second day, we went bowling, but not bowling like the American bowling, the German kind with a small ball and 9 pins. That was a lot of fun. And so aside from really learning a lot during those 2 days, I mean, there was everything from how to issue a proper invoice. In the morning, we had a Tai Chi session. At the end of the first day, we had a Zumba lesson. And, just to break up the entire program. And one of the sessions that touched me the most was one of the sessions during the last slot on the last day. we were talking about coping with stress and coping with, well, actually anything that adds to stress, which includes, tight deadlines, living up to the competition, how we deal with that stress. Some of us at the end of the day, they'll grab a bottle of beer or maybe a glass of wine or whatever. Others have to take medication so they can sleep at night, to get their rest. And that was a very, very touching session, because like half of the people in that room opened up. Some of them were in tears because they were like, okay, I feel this immense pressure and I don't know how to deal with it. And maybe I haven't been dealing with it good enough. Maybe I haven't been treating myself good enough. I don't know how to get a downward spiral, because, when you're under stress, maybe you don't work as efficient. When you don't work as efficient, you have to work more hours, but working more hours at the end of the day really just doesn't give you any better results. And
stress.
Right. And so that to me was one of the most amazing moments, community moments among translators, because it was a very supportive, very gentle atmosphere. And yeah, so that was the first translation camp. The second one we had in Germany was this year in June, I believe. The location wasn't as remote, and this time I opted not to take care of accommodation and everything, because there was just enough things around for people to book themselves. So it was also quite interesting. The first day was very structured, but the group was very small. So the second day we kind of, broke up that structure and just saw, or we just captured the topics we wanted to talk about, and then we just had an open discussion from beginning to the end. And in between we cooked lunch together, and that was a lot of fun. Now I do think that the German community is kind of, maybe, I don't want to say not ready for it, because that's not the point. They're just very skeptical about the concept. But those people who did participate, they did take away a lot, and they did learn a lot, because if you look at it, bottom line, you have people participating in these bar camps who've been in the business for 20 years, and they've been in the business successfully for 20 years. And those are the people who will share the more in-depth, the more technical things, the more things that are really related to translation science, things like that. But then there's also enough topics that may not have so much to do with translation, but with freelancing in general, or, your work-life balance, or just things that are a bit more general, where it's really not important that the person talking about it has like 15 years of experience in order for everybody else to take something away from that. So, yeah. And that's when I decided, because I was we were tweeting and Facebooking about this everywhere, and I was, writing blog posts and things. And I got these emails already starting with the first translation camp, where people were like, hey, I love this concept, and, can I do it in my country? And what do I have to do? So one of the things that I've been struggling with when I did these in Germany was finding enough sponsors to really make it free. The first one with the 3 nights and the complete food and everything, like all inclusive, was 99 euros per person, which is still incredibly cheap. For this second one, we had to charge 9 euros to cover the rent for the community center that we rented and the food. Still incredibly cheap, but my goal is to make these translations free for the attendees. And for that, we need to have a strong, I don't want to call it brand, but a strong brand identity in order to make it attractive for sponsors.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I'll put together a package for people willing to do these translation camps. This package includes, of course, a complete how-to guide. It includes a website in their native language, whereas those people need to deliver the translations, of course, that I would put on the website. They get my 24/7 support. They get their own logo. Well, not their own logo. They get the translation camp logo in their country colors. And of course, I'm more than willing to help with, finding sponsors and just to really be there and share with them everything I've learned from these two bar camps that I've organized myself, but also from all the bar camps that I've attended. And that's why I decided to make it international, because I think it's a great concept to do CPD, to learn from other translators, because basically that's what happens at your regular conferences. You have translators standing there talking about things they're good at or that they've learned a lot about. Just translators sharing their knowledge. Of course, there's always going to be names that you won't find at a bar camp. I mean, I'm pretty sure that someone well, maybe I'm not pretty sure. I would guess that somebody of the caliber of Chris Durbin or the Jenner twins or whoever, they probably wouldn't attend, and which I think is okay. I would list them as top speakers in our profession. But there's many other translators out there who know a lot and who are more than willing to share their knowledge. Maybe they're not social media fans in general. Maybe they just, like people-to-people contact. But I do believe there's a lot of people out there who understand that in order to make the profession better, we will need to share our knowledge among each other. Because the universities aren't going to make translation students great entrepreneurs, and great entrepreneurs are not going to be the best translators, like from day one. So it's up to us to make the community of translators strong and stand together and to speak up. And many people don't even want to do that through their association because they don't like the bylaws, or they don't want to afford the membership fee, or they feel they have nothing to give to an association for whatever reason why people don't join associations. So the translation camp is a informal but yet high quality way to do CPD in real life and to network and just take care of all those aspects.
We have another question from Tracy. She's probably asking about the bar camps that are organized in other countries. So are the discussions in the language of the place where you are organizing the bar camp?
Yes, definitely. It's about, bringing the community of translators together where the bar camps take place. Depending on the size of the country, I want one ambassador to a maximum of 3 ambassadors per country. And right now, Spain is kicking it off pretty badass. We have one ambassador for the Canary Islands, and we have one ambassador for mainland Spain. And those bar camps will be held in Spanish, definitely. Well, I'm not so sure about the one on the Canaries. We decided to keep the website in English because it's the first official bar camp outside of Germany. But the one in the Czech Republic next year, for instance, that's going to be completely in Czech. So it wouldn't even make any sense for somebody who doesn't speak Czech, to go there. And it's also about, coping with local challenges, because a translator in Germany will have other challenges to face than a translator in the Czech Republic. So yes, it's always in their native tongue, and it should always only involve people who speak that language and who deal with the same regional issues.
So how can someone become a translation camp ambassador? What do they need? Are there any special requirements? How does it go?
You don't really need any special requirements. Of course, somebody who's going to want to become an ambassador will probably be a person who's a little bit outgoing, just because you have to put the word out there, and you need to talk to venue owners, and you need to talk to sponsors. So yes, it's not going to be your typical introvert, but you don't really have to have many years of experience in the translation profession. You should have a fairly good network, or at least have people in your own network who have a very network or a good standing in your local translation community. Because of course you're going to have to make sure that you have enough attendees in order for it to make sense.
And how many attendees in your experience is enough?
Well, you know, the last one I did, I think we were like 15 people. I mean, that was very small.
Mm-hmm.
That was very small. I wouldn't like to do that again, but I think anything 30 and up, and I probably not allow more than 120, 150 participants.
Mm.
But I
Why
doubt
not?
that anybody...
Because
it gets too large, and you lose the atmosphere.
Intimacy. The atmosphere.
I mean, yeah. I think if you do find that many people interested in a bar camp, then it's time to split up the location, you know, and kind of like, I don't know, South Italy, North Italy, things like that, because you want to keep the group fairly manageable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not make it a big organizational thing, you know, like you have with conference. I mean, as a bar camp organizer, naturally, you're not going to make any money, and that's absolutely not the point of it. This is something that is non-commercial, and that's the spirit of bar camps, to have it non-commercial. And yeah.
Why do you think it is important to?
people.
Why do you think it is important to organize this kind of events?
Like I said, there's going to be people who don't want to or cannot go to conferences for different reasons. I mean, at bar camps, depending on the location, people can bring their family, they can bring their spouse or their sister or whoever, you know, to take care of the kids during the day. And the family can join for the
activities.
I don't want to call it fringe events, but yeah, for the activities afterwards. Right. So, you know, bringing family along isn't a problem. Other people think that conferences are this top-down thing, you know, and people don't learn if they don't participate. And on the other hand, a bar camp is still more than a powwow that has some theme or one speaker or anything like that. And it's definitely different from anything that happens online, because you get to look into people's faces, you get to laugh with them, you get to see their skeptical views when you speak about something. It's just so much more intense than anything that happens online, and it's still fun. It's really fun, and I've made great friends in bar camps, definitely.
Awesome. That sounds like a fantastic opportunity for people to meet each other and learn from each other. And like you said, it's all about giving back to the community and sharing your knowledge, because it's the only thing that drives us forward. And
Right.
I absolutely agree with you that not everyone has the skills or, I don't know, willingness to share everything online or have money to go to huge conferences, international conferences, and fly over to States or Europe. So those small local events, I think it's a great idea to gather people together and discuss topics that really matter to you first and not to the organizers of the events.
Right.
I think that's the most important thing about these kinds of events, because it has the central focus on the people and their interests and their worries and fears and what have you. So I think it's a great idea.
Is there a website
Thank
where
you.
people can learn more about translation camps and how you can become an ambassador and things like that?
Yeah, actually, it's just xl8camp.org. Many people ask me why XL8. XL8 is the hashtag for translation. So technically, it's not XL8 camp; it's translation camp. And why did I lean on Twitter? Because you know, social media coverage, and especially Twitter, is what bar camps live off. You know, you tweet about things that you hear during the bar camp. You mention sponsors. Bar camps, like if you pick a bar camp in your city or maybe the next larger city. If you look it up on Wikipedia, there's tons of bar camps happening all over the world on totally different topics. And check out their hashtag. Go on Twitter and see what you find under those hashtags. I mean, bar camps are, Twitter is the virtual extension of a bar camp.
Mm.
And so that's why I chose the name Translation Camp or Ixlate Camp. And yeah, so that's the website address.
But it's
a very smart website address, I must admit. And very neat. It's very short and memorable. So that good is to you.
Thank you.
It's a global website, so why did you decide to use the global website for the purposes of this project?
Well, my first intention was never to make this whole thing international. I only had this idea after I went to the ProZ.com conference in Stockholm.
This year?
Or maybe shortly before. Mm-hmm. That's when I decided to open it up to other countries. And so like the Canary Island one, I think has, for the different countries, I use subdomains.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So the one in Canary Island is canary.ixlatecamp.org. The one for the Czech Republic is, I think, CZ.
Probably.
I'd have to look it up, but they're linked on the main website.
Cool.
So and that the reason for that is basically because I want to drive all that link juice from the the different countries. I want to drive that all to the main page to do something for the SEO,
Mm-hmm.
which will then be attractive to sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
which then might make the translation camps, one or the other, free for the attendees to attend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
What are your future plans for the Ixlate camps? Are you hoping that it's going to take off and we're going to have Ixlate camps all over the world?
My main goal is to foster a community feeling among translators. That's always been my goal, whether when I founded the association or I've done other things. I hosted the just German-speaking community of translators online for several years. I just really feel that we need to work on this community feeling every single day. Because yeah, of course, everybody who's listening now and has the same language combination as I do and maybe specializes in the same fields, yes, as my competitor, but I truly believe with all the developments out there, with the content that's being created, there is enough work for all of us, and we should stop, fighting each other and fighting agencies and rather focus on getting our act together and talk to each other in a decent
Yes.
way, in a friendly way, support each other. That's the best thing that can happen to the translation community throughout the entire world. And that's not going to happen online. Online is great. I mean, I'm a digital native, like you find them in the books. But there's nothing like real contact to people and looking people in the eye. And if you can combine that with CPD and with fun and networking and all of that, why not?
That's interesting, because this community, this topic of community building and making translators come together and unite and things like that, it comes up it has come up many times in our conversations, no matter what's the topic of our discussion on Blaming Translators First, now on Translators On Air. Basically every second episode we talk about this community thing, so it's really important.
Oh, because I mean, we are social creatures, right? And we
Right.
want to be around other people. We want to be around people who make us feel
Yeah,
good.
cool.
We want to be around people who inspire us, help us grow, and
Right.
that only makes sense to join a community that helps you be better or achieve your goals.
Right. Definitely. And I think in this day and age, what we often forget is the new translators who are now coming onto the market, their only point of reference is the internet. What makes it into the internet? Things that upset us, things where we have the feeling, it's like you're looking at an accident and you can't help but, having to stop and look. They're seeing how translators are bashing on other translators. They see how translators are voicing their fear of agencies and putting them on blue boards and God knows what, and blacklists. And so there's a lot of what's visible of the translator community, and I know that's not true because I know many translators, and 99% of them are golden and great people. But what people from outside of the industry or people who are just coming into the industry see is what they see online. And usually what bubbles to the surface online is always the negative things. And so we need to combat that. And I'm very happy that Nicole, who's doing this on Gran Canaria this month, actually, she made sure that the university on Gran Canaria found out about the translation camp. So she's also going to have very many young people attending, but there's also going to be great translators there who've been in the business for a while. And I think that's important, not just to draw in the experts of their fields, but also to make those feel welcome who may have the wrong impression of our community. Yeah.
But they also offer fresh perspective as well.
Definitely. That's why I love working with interns, because when they come fresh out of university or they're still at university, they have so many ideas where you're like, yeah, why didn't I think of that? And it's not so much just them about learning from me because I've been in the business for so long. I can learn from them as well. Definitely.
True. Do you have any advice for people who'd like to start their own community projects?
Haters gonna hate. You're gonna have to ignore that. I mean, if you're gonna build a community, you need to refrain from the idea that you will manage to gather everybody around you. That's not going to happen. There's always going to be people who think, your idea is stupid, or you're just doing this for the money, or you're doing it for the fame, or who think that your approach to translation is wrong, or they just don't share your values. And it would be so much to ask of that of anybody who builds a community, because there's just no way that you can put, I don't know, how many million translators are there? It's like inviting the entire translator community to your home and saying, okay, we're making burgers tonight, and you're all going to have to eat that. It's not going to be to everybody's taste. So be prepared that there's going to be people trying to talk you down, trying to make your project look bad, trying to discourage you. But that's okay. I mean, then you at least know that you're being seen and that people are thinking about you and your project, and that's totally fine. And instead focus on the people who support your cause, who share values, who share your ideas. That would be my biggest advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's of all the advice you could give, it's probably the best advice, because it resonates with me as well, because I'm a community builder of sorts. I have built the open mic, and I know exactly what you mean. I know that you can't be liked by everyone. It's just impossible. And focusing on people who hate you or don't understand you, or are trying to put a spin on your message, well, you should accept that. You should show them that you read their message. Sometimes there are useful comments in those hateful comments. I mean, there is always value you can extract from those comments if you get rid of all the objectification stuff. But the most important thing is focusing on the people who get you and doing it for the people who understand you. We have a lot of people who probably don't understand this whole idea of live talk show. When we started our talk show last year, it had a different name, and it was called Blab Translators. And the idea was because it was based on a different platform that we used. It was called blab.im. But for some reason, we were receiving a lot of comments from people that, did you know that blab has a negative connotation? Well, of course we do know that blab has negative connotation. We are translators. We know the meanings of the words. But did you know that we named our show because of the platform that we used back then? And when people simply cannot, I don't know, read a few lines that are on the main page of your website and that explain basically what you do, and it tells me a lot about the attention span and stuff like that. So,
well, maybe there's another thing that people should be aware of now that you mentioned it. I find there's a lot of copycats out there. Maybe they don't mean to copy. Maybe they just think, okay, I have a similar idea and I like this. But if you're somebody who likes to put his ideas out there, there's going to be people who agree, but they would never agree openly, and they kind of wander off and do their own thing. That's what I think is kind of sad, because I think if we would put the effort, into one, if you like my idea, come and ask me how you can help or how you can get rid of it, or, don't just go off and do your own thing. That's why I always stress the fact that it's important that these translation camps run under one flag. I mean, there's nobody behind me or in the dark who's giving me money for it. I'm not making any money of it. I'm doing all the marketing and blah, and I'm doing the graphic works and God knows what. Nobody's paying me for this. But if we want to make it free for translators, we need to find the sponsors. And for sponsors, you need to be a big brand. So I'm really hoping that people understand that it's vital that, especially for this project, that they don't go out and copy the concept, but that we do it together. I mean, I'm not going to tell them how to organize it. If they want help with it, they can have it. But if they like the concept, please knock on my door, drop me an email. Don't go off doing it yourself. You're not going to do anybody any harm.
But I think when it comes to copycats, in your case, people just, as you say, they just won't be able to create that kind of brand that will attract the sponsors if they do it on their own. And in many other cases, the thing is that you can probably copy the concept, but you can't copy the spirit. So if something was created, right, if someone would, I don't know, go and make another talk show, it would be a talk show. It might be a nice talk show, but it won't be Translators on Air. So just because right, just because that's we who are doing it, and we don't hide who we are. We have our personalities and we show them. And also the way, I suppose that the way we choose our guests, we choose the people who we want to talk to and people we want to invite to the show. It also is a reflection of our personality, or probably my personality, because I'm in charge of that. So yeah, I think it will be pretty hard to copy that. And yeah, it just doesn't make sense more often than not.
Plus my Mickey Mouse headphones.
Yeah, definitely.
my signature fridge. But you can see in the background.
I have my shisha back here. Yeah. So translators are something very special, but then again, they're not so special at all. I have friends who work in design, like real design. They are professional designers, and they have the same issues. And you have the same thing with writers and with editors and all these people. When you have many small entities coming together, there's always a lot of contact that creates warmth, and that sometimes can get a bit too hot. So too hot for some.
Yeah, I think it's just how life goes.
Anyway, but if anybody listening out there feels like joining me for the translation camp, or if you're just interested in the idea, I would be super happy to chat with you guys. I know there's already somebody for, now I need to see if I can pronounce it correctly, Kyrgyzstan? Is that how you say it? Yeah, Kyrgyzstan. We already have somebody for Greece. Actually a team of 2 who will take over Greece. Czech Republic is covered, Spain is covered, and I'm really looking forward to, doing this in some other countries. And just supporting outgoing translators in doing something together with me for the translation community.
We'll include all the information in the show notes so that people could reach out to you and discuss it in more detail. So I guess that's it for today.
Yeah.
Oh, it's already 10 after.
Yeah, we've been talking for more than an hour. Yeah.
That's how time flies here.
I'm surprised we still have people with us.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Tanya. I'm really impressed with everything you do and with both of your initiatives. I think, as I said, we will include all the information in the show notes. If you are watching this in the recording and listening to the recording, you can check out our website at translatorsonair.com and subscribe to our mailing list so that you don't miss our future episodes. And please don't forget to check out our sponsor's website, which is at smartcat.ai. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure being here.
Thank you, Tanya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.